Hey, everybody, welcome to this special show on censorship. I am joined by my good friend Darko from Crypto Tonight and
Hello.
Christopher Rice Crypto from Rice TVX. We usually do a show, me and Rice, every Friday. We do the Crypto Rewind, but we're not doing that today because Rice got a second strike. He got a strike last week.
Well, no.
on-
Okay, so
you know,
to correct it, it's the first strike this year on Rice TVX. Last Friday, Rice TVX2 got a strike, and
I thought
it was
you got a
for
second strike on Rice TVX too.
no, and actually this was the first. I went about 30 days, a little over 30 days of not having a strike on my channel for the first time since sometime in 2020. I maintained a one strike the entirety of 2021. Had two strikes several times. I was very thankful to avoid 3 strikes in 90 days. But I think I had like a total of 9 strikes last year on Rice TVX.
Wow.
And this one was and the one on Rice TVX2 from last Friday was something that I was streaming on both channels, and it didn't affect Rice TVX. The video is still up on Rice TVX, but I got a strike and lost the appeal on Rice TVX too.
That's good. That's good,
Same
Matt.
video.
That it was the Goblet of Fire, so that's funny, man. That's good. That's good.
So you're a naughty boy.
Well, I would say that I try to skate the line of what I can and can't say, but my content is very edgy, and I'm bringing on guests which YouTube would prefer me not to bring on.
He's
Which would
absolutely
include-
well. No, you said some more shit there, but I was going to say he's absolutely lying and not telling the truth until he said the last part. It's not edgy, dude. It's really not. He's just talking about things that go against what they want people to talk about. It's not like he's talking about stuff on some crazy out there thing. It's really basic stuff about freedom.
Well, this video was with Dolores Cahill, Cahill, if you want to pronounce it from the Americanized version, but she was a medical doctor, was kind of pushed out of her industry. She was involved in like EU committees and other things. And the video was from a little over a year ago. I've also, just so, since we're talking about this, I try to make people aware of this, but the last time I got strikes, I woke up, and it's always Fridays for whatever reason. Woke up on Friday morning, got one of those warning emails like, hey, we removed your video. We don't think you knew that you messed up, so we're not going to give you a strike, but we're removing the video. Then a few hours later, and that video was private, by the way.
Yeah, I remember that.
Then a few hours later, they ended up giving me a strike on another video and saying, this one, we're giving you a strike. You violated their terms and conditions. And then every time I appeal, and that video is unlisted. So the same day, private and unlisted. So if your video is on YouTube, it doesn't matter if it's private, doesn't matter if it's unlisted. They can give you strikes and remove videos that are private and that are not public, unlisted. So people need to take that in consideration. And then the other problem that I have is with these numerous strikes where they're telling me I'm violating their terms and conditions by X, by Y, by Z. I always ask, well, what is it about X that I said or that was said in the video specifically that was in violation of your terms and conditions?
And then they just say, read the terms and conditions.
Right. They don't give you any information.
Yeah. And that's been a complaint by, not people like us. It's a complaint about that all YouTubers have made the complaint of the vagueness of, hey, you're in trouble. Well, for what? I don't want to do it again. And they're like, for breaking the rules. What rules? Read the rules. I read the rules. What rule did I break?
They change every
One
day.
of our rules. It's like literally your parents saying, don't do that. Why? Because I said so. I've given this a lot.
I thought somebody was in my home, and I wasn't sure what it was, but my girlfriend came home early. Sorry.
You are armed, aren't
I'm
you?
like hearing noises in my house, and I'm like, is somebody walking around? Because I wasn't expecting her to get home this early, but it is what it is.
You know, you are the worst at this, Chris. I don't. It gets to the point where you annoy me more than anyone else. I understand why, but the code words. You are more careful than anyone. I'm more careful than Lisa, more careful than Westwood, way more careful than Darko. Way more careful than me. Where sometimes I don't understand what you say. It takes me a minute because there's like 20 code words that you use in one sentence.
Right.
And I'm like, what? And it's been really bothering me because I've been thinking about history and how under, very fascist and tyrannical regimes, people had to it was an underground, and they had to use code words, and I was thinking that's how we're freaking living, man. We're basically doing that.
We have to self-censor ourselves on these platforms. Where I thought we had free speech, where I thought that the First Amendment applied to companies in the United States, it doesn't. And we found that out the hard way. And they could get to control the narrative on their platform. So I try to play game.
It's a good one, JDO.
How can anybody comply with the rules when they will not say what violated? Yeah, no, it's exactly. And so the point, and I even right now, Team YouTube and YouTube creators is not responding to me on Twitter, which normally they do. And I'm asking, why can't I ever get an explanation of what it was that was said in violation so that I know to correct it? Because I'm not a big fan of police officers or judges, but a police officer will say, do you know why I pulled you over? Or do you know why I stopped you? And then when you go into court, the judge is going to ask, do you know what you've been charged with and why? Do you understand these charges? Yeah. And they're going to explain to you the error of what you may or may not have done so that you can prevent doing it in the future. It's like, I'm just like, if you're going to mess with my channel this much, I'm glad it's not been deleted, but I'm like, why don't you just delete it? Why do you keep nitpicking at me, just enough to where my channel survives? And I'm sitting, like you're saying, I'm trying to be very careful about what I'm saying. Yeah. I'm bringing on guests that YouTube has kicked off the platform.
I've gotten strikes,
controversial people.
I've never gotten strikes for speech. I've gotten strikes for talking about crypto gambling platforms. That's it.
Yeah, I get cyberbullying, harassment.
But I had to figure that out. Me, Crypto Bitcoin Chris, Kiss,
medical misinformation. That's another one.
We're all getting these strikes, and none of us could figure out why, because they wouldn't tell us. They were giving us that round and round.
Encouraging violence and inciting riots.
Yeah,
that's another one.
You got that far on that. That was crazy.
I try to be as peaceful as I possibly can be, with the attitude of don't mistake my kindness for weakness, because if you do, then I will have to knock some sense into you.
I personally feel that I think that's what they're really scared of next, because you guys know that I think that's what's coming. As a student of history, I've said this 1,000 times, and I will say it 1,000 more. We don't get to this point in history. We have never before, where all the information is controlled and is propaganda, where people have to do it with the man says so, and it didn't
what the plantation owner says.
It didn't own in fire and blood. It's never ever not happened. We have crypto now, and I said that's something different. We have blockchain. We have this. It's a different time. So I hope that things will get better, but it never has throughout history. And everyone says those who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it, and it always gets repeated.
Yeah, well, this time
now it doesn't end unless there's fire and blood.
And that is a possibility, but you can see that all around the world there are a lot of people standing up. We see what's happening in Canada.
Canada, huge.
We have Darko here, and Darko's from the land of Oz. There's so much turmoil happening in Australia.
The world's biggest jail.
That's exactly how it started out. Was a
penal colony.
Penal colony. I hate that word, but penal.
Lots of penises everywhere.
Penises everywhere.
So, with that being said, it seems like someone didn't get the notice about the UK selling off Australia and China, or Canada to China. So people are standing up and getting frustrated. People are getting tired of it. And there's a lot more of that than there was a year ago. But Darko, I'd like to get your experiences on what you have dealt with when it comes to all the crap that people hear about in Australia.
Yeah, but just to get started with that, I just want to raise a quick point as well. When this whole world change first started, I actually created a video that was based only on factual evidence, not conspiracy theories. My information came from the news outlets. I made a video about it. This is probably 3 or 4 months into when the world changed, and I copped a strike from YouTube as well, and they took down the video as well. And I debated it, fought it, and they turned around and said to me after reviewing that, yeah, he breaks all the YouTube rules. And back then, they didn't have the misinformation reason. It was just you've broken the rules. That was it. So
that's another thing. I was looking at history, and misinformation is it's not a new word, but it's one that's been used towards the end of that tyrannical shit.
He who controls the narrative gets to say what is the misinformation and what isn't.
Yeah.
Yes. So and with the whole misinformation thing, basically, I know a lot of people here. A lot. I don't know anybody that's ever become feeling unwell since this all started. I've heard more horror stories of people, friends of friends, dying from doing things to prevent getting unwell. But I haven't actually don't know anyone personally that's been unwell unless they got that thing. And a lot of the stuff that we saw in the media, there was a huge difference between the mainstream and the non-mainstream media outlets. So from what you saw on the propaganda national news, and then if you compared it to people at these gatherings, large public gatherings with their cameras, the smaller media guys, painted two totally different pictures. It was so censored on one end and uncensored on the other. You'd have to be an idiot not to figure out what's going on. And in terms of rates of people getting things done, it's funny. Most people I know don't have it. How has most of the country got it when the laws of probability are telling me the numbers are bullshit?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, don't start talking about probability and facts, man.
Yeah.
We've all seen, videos coming out of Australia that are they're heart-wrenching and terrible. And there's always people are filming it and they're just yelling at the authorities. It's like, dude, I'm embarrassed to be Australian.
It's because
I'm embarrassed to be a Canadian.
And it surprised me to see so many different law enforcement officers be on the side of the state versus the side of the people. That was very disheartening when you really get down and think about it.
Yeah, but the other thing I wanted to mention as well, with Rice, for example, what's happened to you, we need to constantly remind ourselves as crypto YouTubers that we already have red flags against us. We're already susceptible to getting taken down. And then when we add these external elements to that crypto content, we're doubling our chances of copping strikes. So how many times have crypto YouTubers been taken down because they're a crypto YouTube channel and then they have to
I agree. Back? And there's been some recent, over the past few weeks, a lot of the various different crypto content creators have been experiencing a lot more forms of shadow banning and censorship, not necessarily strikes.
Yeah, I want to talk to you about some of that when we're done recording.
Okay. Well, one of the things that I've done is it was around mid-March of 2020. I restructured my channel, and then later in the year, rebranded from Rice Crypto to Rice TVX. And when I restructured my channel in early 2020, that's when I started covering different things other than economics, crypto, and anarchy and voluntarism, because that was the main focus of the channels. Once I restructured, I had 3 shows under the channel: the Rice Crypto Show for crypto and blockchain, Rice Report for politics and economics, and that's pretty normal. What I added for the restructure was Stranger Than Fiction, which is dealing with fringe topics, conspiracies, history, spirituality, law, and it's kind of all under the umbrella of freedom and sovereignty. And because of the branch out and interviewing people like Max Egan, who YouTube has kicked off the platform and won't allow on the platform, Cliff High, who they kicked off the platform. Dolores Cahill, who's being highly censored, amongst all the many different people that I've interviewed. So I'm not only am I a crypto content creator, but since I'm not crypto centric and I'm going on the other spectrum, I'm adding that much more attention to my channel and adding that much more problems. So I'm,
Well,
I've been talking about this, but I'm going to
Robert
restructure
Beatles
how
and
I do my
what's going to
videos.
happen and what can happen. I mean, he was like the biggest, crypto influencer there was, and then he branched out more into freedom, and he was just talking and interviewing like doctor. I mean, it wasn't crazy stuff, but they shadow banned him
Who?
so hard. Robert Beatles.
Oh, well, no, they terminated his channel. Not only shadow banned him, they
Yeah, but they
killed his
they
channel.
terminated his channel.
I didn't know that.
They shadow banned him online.
He had a Wikipedia page. They removed that. They removed his profile on LinkedIn because he has a history prior to cryptocurrency. So he had a Wikipedia page, and then the Crypto Beetle stuff was added to it. But
and
they've done this to numerous people.
How they have shadow banned him on like Twitter, and I mean he has tons of followers and has like 4 likes. Like it's just me, and it's become. I mean, it became a joke to him. But I want to talk about like how the narrative is really falling apart. I think that the massive attack on Rogan, it was so coordinated, and it was hard. You can't get any harder than what they put out there. But right. I don't know if you saw the video of Israel.
Jacob Israel?
No, first name Israel, last name is Amadalia, or he's a UFC fighter.
Okay, not familiar with it.
Oh, it's amazing, dude. We gotta find it. But dude, Arco, did you look it up? UFC fighter Joe Rogan. You can share it in a minute. But he, this reporter, was a big UFC press conference.
Israel.
First name Israel, yeah. Last name like Amadalia, but just a UFC and Joe Rogan. They'll bring it up. He said, "Hey, he wanted to ask Dana a question about Joe Rogan," and this dude interrupted him, and he goes, "I'll take this. I'm black. I'm going to take this."
Yeah.
And he said, "Look, I've been in this business for it was like 12 years since like 2008, I think." And he said, "Joe Rogan is one of the coolest, humble, nicest guys I've ever worked with," and that's how it is. And he said he's my N-word. He said I can't say it.
So Jordan Peterson has come out in defense of a lot of people have come out in defense of Joe Rogan, saying a lot of his appeal is he's just an everyday individual, keeps it real.
Well, that's what I wanted to say. That's what I wanted to bring up.
When he makes a mistake,
this was 12 years ago.
Right.
It was in context. And he also made the point. It's not like any other word.
They're going to continue to dig up because
but
they can't.
That's what I wanted to bring up.
They were wanting to do.
Who they are. They are with
the people controlling the narrative that Joe Rogan is helping to basically shatter. And so they can't attack him.
That is true right there.
They can't attack him with.
I don't think he should have been apologizing. But let me finish the point. Portnoy, he actually investigated who was messing with him, and he tracked it back to a company that people hire to cancel people. So this company is the one that went after Rogan. They found the stuff. They made so it's a business.
Yeah,
canceling people is a business, and they have these agencies that will do it.
Cancel culture is a thing, man. I mean, you got to.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It didn't work. I mean,
not yet.
Kid Rock comes out with, We the People. It's #1 everywhere within 24 hours, and everyone tries to go after him. And he just said, "Whatever, I don't care."
Well, don't forget about your favorite singer, Neil Young. Keep on rocking in the free world.
I know, man. It bothers me, dude. and a friend of mine, Greg from Rivet, made the point that the dudes, and then also Ted Nugent made a point, which is they're probably both true. But Neil Young's freaking old, dude. He's probably handled by some people. His stuff is controlled. He's fed whatever they tell him. and he's old, and then
he probably can't. He's probably geriatric and can't even think, and he's got his
exactly.
handlers who are
That's
speaking
I think
for
how
him.
that's I think a big part of it.
But now let me
But
rewind.
and Ted Nugent made the point that he's also his brain's fried from drugs for decades of hardcore drugs.
Yeah, lots
And
of
he's old.
genetics.
So the dude is, he's probably not 100% there because he didn't come out and like make a lot of appearances on it. So I really
I didn't see it, in fact, really, honestly. I just saw what was being put in the kind of like the headlines. Now to rewind this, man, me and you have talked about this before, but it seemed like the big push to test and see how people were going to react to censoring somebody and taking away their free speech was the Alex Jones InfoWars situations.
Yes,
they were very
we've always brought it up. That's the
very
beginning
successful.
of it.
And they're trying to do the same thing to Rogan, but they can't do it with just normal play. So now they're going to go dirty and dig into the guy's past and try to do everything they can to make his life miserable and or get Spotify to the point that they will release him from his contract. Now, from what I understand, Rumble is offering him like $100 million. So either way, however this plays out, it could be good for Rogan. And if I was Rogan, I would just try to get out of my contract with Spotify at this point. And
it didn't. Spotify was doing the right thing and sticking by him
for right now,
until the Obamas move into it, till the Obamas came in, and then they joined this. The cancel him, so they brought all the power that they bring. But so that's why that when they got involved, that's when Spotify removed all those shows, and I think people see that it's an attack on the First Amendment.
Something shows, and one of the shows was with Maynard James Keenan, the singer from Tool. Yeah, like that is like controversial. Yeah, so it's like it didn't even make sense of the list of the videos they removed. So I mean, if I understand, Rogan has it's almost like a superhero. The whole silly motto for what people say, what Uncle Ben said to Peter Parker: with great power comes great responsibility. So I feel like he has a responsibility to try to do the right thing while maintaining his credibility, because I don't see him bowing down.
He did apologize, and
the apology was more, I think, of if I was politically incorrect and if you took this to be the way I didn't mean for it to be, then I apologize for that. That's what I got. I didn't took it as throwing up a white flag of surrender.
No, I think it was a little white flag, but I think it was a lot more what you said. That, look, man, I realize I have a lot of power here, and I should be more responsible. I think that was kind of what he was saying.
Yeah, because and I appreciate what he said about bringing in, like, as soon as he does an interview that could be deemed controversial, to bring someone right away on with an opposing view, because I'm always one to challenge what I think I know by bringing on people that I may or may not agree with, so I can solidify what I do know. And we need to do that more often. I mean, a good, healthy, civil debate is a beautiful thing.
Was
and it still can be, but it's a beautiful thing. But what's happening to the Constitution, what's happening to the First Amendment, what's happening to the Second Amendment, all of this is just an attack on everything our founding fathers stood for.
It is. You know what? And for the rest of the world, it's an attack on everyone's freedom. I mean,
there's a
lot of countries don't have that amendment. They don't have it in writing.
Like the beacon of freedom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want you guys and even the viewers to take part in a little social experiment and go and create a new Gmail account that you will not use, and then register that Gmail account onto Facebook and create a Facebook page. You don't have to put anything on it, just create one. Give it about 6 to 12 months, check back into your email, and watch how many companies all of a sudden are emailing you with offers.
Well, I believe that your Gmail list I believe that Gmail's database of just the email names are public. So it doesn't necessarily have to come from Facebook itself. in that aspect, just to play a little bit of a devil's advocate. But I get what you're saying.
Sorry, let me correct. I missed the point here as well.
If you
they
go
will
on,
use,
get like a
they will
Proton
address
Mail
you by your
account.
Facebook name in these emails. Sorry, I forgot to mention that part. They will address you by your Facebook name, not your email name.
Have you ever experimented with just trying to make sure that your email wasn't available publicly on Facebook?
Yeah,
Because
I just created a page that I wasn't going to use because I was going to set up an account for another business thing. And then I just thought, no, I'm not going to proceed. So I made sure that I wasn't contactable or anything because there was nothing there. And just to make it more discreet, I even made a fake name for the Facebook page, right? So no one can know who I am. Just leave it. I just left it there. And I thought I'll come back to it in a month or two and then restructure the whole thing properly. I got bombarded by all these companies using the Facebook name that I used, not on the Gmail name.
Right.
It's fucked.
Yeah, no, all these companies, I mean, I don't know how it is in Australia, but all these companies in the United States sell their databases to other companies. And that's how we get these robocall issues where we have these bots that are spam calling people.
That says 67 says Proton is FBI monitored. I was going to bring up Proton. I don't have one, but that's supposed to be super secure.
I mean, but here's the ultimate thing. Like when it comes down to it, when it comes to being monitored, and this is something that I try to explain a lot, there's really not a lot that you can do, even with encrypted applications and such, because I feel like there is spyware, ways to monitor built into every level of devices, all the way down to the processor level. So you can have all the encryption that you want on your devices, and maybe the everyday person couldn't get in and see what you're doing. But I feel like if every single device has a backdoor, then they should be able to see what you're doing 100%.
But to get back to the whole Rogan thing, I think it's a phenomenon that's starting to happen. It's all happening with the truckers. Don't get me started on China, dude. I'm really pissed at China.
Well, did you watch my video from last week about the Pluto return of the United States, about astrology?
I actually was going to watch that.
It really ties in with what's happening astrologically, because on the 22nd of February, we're supposed to have the exact alignment of Pluto that took place on July 4th, 1776, a day that Benjamin Franklin selected particularly because he was also into astrology, and a lot of talk about an American Revolution 2.0, a new civil war. And then that coincides with a book that came out in the late 90s called The Fourth Turning by William Strauss and Neil Howe, which talks about generational cycles.
Thanks,
and we're in the fourth turning, which is basically crisis. And a lot of times you have situations of war. You have all the media talk over the past few years about all the divide in America and the potential civil war for that. So there's just been all this buildup.
I think that's a word
time
not
period
correct
right now
anymore. I don't think that's a correct word to use anymore.
What?
A civil war? I don't think so. I think if there's anything that
civil
happened,
divide is what I would prefer.
I will not. I would say revolution.
We're divided like hell, dude.
Yeah, but I don't think that we're not fighting with each other. That's different. I don't think we are. I
don't know if it'll get to that point, but
I think it's.
Well, I even mentioned if we have an American Revolution or Civil War, it will not be a repeat of history, and it won't necessarily be what we're expecting it to be.
I think it's a more of a revolution, instead of, because I don't think it's going to be brothers fighting brothers and cousins fighting cousins like it was before. I think it's going to literally be a powerful minority fighting the people. It's definitely going to be cultural, JDO. But you keep getting me off track, man. I
Sean
think
wants to talk about China. That's what he wants to do.
No, I don't want to talk about China.
I want to mute my mic so I don't interrupt you, and I'm going to let you just talk about China and vagina.
There's stuff going around that they rewrote the Force Awakens and Star Wars trilogy because China didn't want John Boyega to be the Jedi. So John Boyega was supposed to originally be the Jedi that instead of Ray, and China said no, he's black, so they made him a secondary character. They changed the whole thing. I know they changed the posters and all that in China, but I've heard like rumors that they literally had to go back and change the entire story for that.
You talking about Fight
Yeah.
Club?
No, I'm talking
Yeah.
about the Star Wars trilogy, the new one.
Okay, well, they changed the ending to Fight Club in China
Yeah,
too,
that's funny.
to make to make it where the corporate
joke.
where the Tyler Durden like loses.
It looks like
in
a
the
it
end.
looks like a bad SNL skit, dude.
I can't
It
even
said
I
it-
can't
it
even
stopped-
see
they
the
stopped the
people
movie
who own the rights
right at
to
the
that
Flash.
allow for China for them to bend over and create an alternate ending to a movie that is a
From years ago.
masterpiece. And I would love for someone to be inspired by that movie, and I would love for the Project Mayhem to come to real life.
Dude,
I'm not gonna
they
start
stopped
it,
the movie
but I would
right at the
love for it to
Flash.
happen.
That's the dumbest time that they could have done it. It shows an explosion, and they said, but the police got in the nick of time, and stopped the bombs from blowing up. After he turned himself over to the police and went to to an asylum, he got the care that he needed, knew he was wrong, and became a productive member of society. Literally, it's funny.
It's
But
funny
back to Rogan.
it's funny to a point until some young Chinese kid watches it and doesn't even get the whole point of what the book was about, what the movie was about, because that story is very deep and should be very much an inspiration in today's time.
It needs
That's
to be.
why I'm saying I would support whomever brings Project Mayhem to life. I'm just not going to be that individual, or if I was, I wouldn't tell you.
I didn't know that about Fight Club. First time I heard of it.
Oh, it's funny, dude. You gotta look it up. I'm not.
You've
kidding.
never seen Fight Club, Darko?
No, I haven't seen that
No, it's
ending
about
that
the
you're
new ending.
talking about. I didn't know they
You
had an
won't believe
alternative
it.
ending.
You will think it's
Yeah.
fake. You will think it's fake.
And this is recent. This has happened over the past month or two.
Yeah.
So it's probably on YouTube then.
But getting back to Rogan, I think that
Chinese
I think that
YouTube.
like everything is crumbling here, all across the world. People are tired of it, and people are realizing that government is not real. It is it's just an idea, and if people don't believe in the idea, it's not real. Just like laws aren't a real thing.
If people
There's
stop
something that people have
participating.
to believe. If the police don't believe it, if you don't believe it, it's not real. If it was real, like if as soon as you hit 56, as you're driving instead of 55, your car would turn off, by magic, or you would pass out. That's something you can't control. But it didn't happen. You have to believe that it is, and you have to keep your car under 56, so you're not breaking that law.
Same thing with
But it's
money.
all in your head. It's all mental.
Same thing with
And
our,
people are waking up.
currency.
They're seeing the ridiculousness of everything, because it's been a while, and there's real data coming out on that stuff that we were talking about earlier, which is what everyone just said in the beginning. They didn't want to get stuck. They wanted to wait and see, because it's a brand new medical thing, and they didn't want everyone to wait because they didn't want everyone to know anything. And now stuff is coming out. There's studies coming out of Israel where people have more information to make a better choice, and that's one of the reasons why all that is falling apart. But they still want to hold on
What about
with
options?
their tyrannical fists, and that's one of the reasons why they're so pissed at Rogan. But
also,
like
dude,
the truckers
things
in
you
Canada
couldn't say a year ago are seemingly all right now, because a
Because
year
they've been
ago they were saying
proven.
it was misinformation and fact checkers were taking it down, but that information ended up becoming true. And that's kind of like that video.
It was
is a
always
year old.
true, but it became proven.
People
but
woke up and
still,
realized.
everything is falling apart there. People are waking up with the truckers, with the protests all over everywhere. With people aren't blindly obeying as much, and I think that's one of them. It's being proven that they were wrong at best, that they lied at worst, and they really want to get rid of people who've been saying that and standing up to them the whole time, like Rogan, because now they're not just saying it, they have a foundation of facts and proof to stand on, so they can go to the next level. They can say, hey, they've already lied about this before. What about this? Why should we believe this new thing? So I think that's one of the reasons why they want to silence him so bad, why they want to silence everyone. because they've been proven wrong and they want to hold on to that power as much as they can. But people aren't falling for it. You can't get any harder, like we said, or worse than the stuff they've thrown at him. And everyone that I know is like, not believing it, dude. Not believing it because it's been fake. You know, the woke culture has no credibility anymore. You know, what's her name was a huge Me Too chick, and then she, Johnny Depp's girlfriend.
It's losing credibility. It still has credibility, or these entities wouldn't exist. I mean, I think we're seeing the downfall of CNN. I think we're going to start seeing the downfall of a lot of these mainstream media outlets because people are starting to realize that the narrative is being controlled, the news is being sensationalized. I mean, they're talking about a possible attack on Russia and Ukraine, like
30 times higher than CNN. 30 times higher.
I know. And do you see what's happening at CNN with all the various people that are getting in trouble and people that are stepping down and stepping away?
Well, that's because they got bought out by Discovery. And they literally said, "Hey, man,
there's a lot of scandal stuff going on."
Oh yeah, but the new owners came out and said, "Look, a lot of situations came out and said, look, we know that this has been way too far left. It is not central. It is not just unbiased information. Totally admit that. We're going to clean things up." I think a lot of that is because of ratings, but at least they're admitting it now. And Fox is the same, dude. It's just the other side of the pendulum.
All the news is about sensationalism, and it's all being controlled. And it's like a bird. A bird has two wings. So it's like you got your Democrats and you have your Republicans, but they're all part of the bird.
The left wing and the right wing are both part of the same bird.
No, you gotta you've got to create the best enemy is the enemy that you create because you control it. That would be the definition of controlled opposition.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in a lot of our situations, we find that. Even if you want to look at 9-1-1.
My man's here. Hey, Larry.
Adding the dashes in for our learning disability AI. Because that's what I've also come to terms with realizing, Darko, is that the AI algorithm for YouTube, it's special needs and has a learning disability.
Like Larry said, I think that
I don't want to use the R word because it doesn't even deserve that.
People are fed up and they're just done. Like even people that believe the whole narrative.
But
they're
not
like,
enough
yeah,
people.
I believe
we're getting there,
I'm
but
just
not
tired
enough
of
people, bro. Not enough people.
They're just tired of it, dude.
If there was enough people standing up, Justin Trudeau wouldn't be prime minister in Canada right now. 100%. Now we're getting close. I'm not saying that we're not close and we're not making effect.
I think that's coming. I think his own party is starting to push back.
Well, it's like when is he going to step down? When is he going to resign?
Oh, he's going to be pulled down, dude.
Everybody's saying it. So
he was in blackface, man, and he still held on to it. I mean, he is one of the biggest fighters that there is. They're going to have to drag him out, but I think they are. I think his time is done.
He was definitely, I think with World Economic Forum, he was considered to be one of the potential men to lead in the future, but I think he's definitely proven himself. And I'm going to be doing a video with his brother, Kyle Kemper, and hopefully one of the guys that helped to put together this convoy and get a little bit more insight because Kyle has been speaking out against his brother. But this is showing you. So you look at what is happening in Ottawa, and it's making effect. There are different provinces that I think are dropping a lot of their mandates, even without having permission from the PM.
Yes,
which is really interesting. So you're seeing a shift. We're not quite where we need to be with it, but I think the shift is gaining momentum, and we will be.
So, Rice, with your current censorship issue at the moment, what's your next step? What's your plan of action? Are you going to change anything? Are you going to keep it all the same? Are you going to look at other options? And I don't want to hear the answer, I'm going to find a decentralized platform which got free speech, because they've been tried and tested and they all failed. Yeah. So we can scratch that one out.
I'm definitely going to be changing the way I move forward. And I had said that if I continue to have problems, I was going to do this. And videos that I know are going to be safe, I'll leave alone. Videos that I think would be in question, I will not put on YouTube and just make videos saying video is going to be such and such place. One of the things I'm also going to be doing is launching my own platform with video hosting that's going to have a paywall to replace my Patreon.
Okay.
And it's somebody that I know that's running the server, so I don't really have too many point of failures. But one thing I used to really dislike when a lot of content creators would do a video, let's say 15 minutes to a half hour, and then say, if you want to watch the rest of the video, go over to my platform. You know, I don't plan on doing that, but I'm definitely because I'm going to have to reduce what I'm doing with YouTube. It's going to cut out income. And because I want to get rid of Patreon, that's going to cut out income and revenue. So I have to look at replacements, and having my own platform. I think all of us having our own platform, it's going to be beneficial. And then even building a platform where we're all participating, and you can utilize technologies like the Fediverse stuff, which is very, very similar to blockchain technology, but not blockchain. It's more like interconnected computers. So you have PeerTube, which is like a YouTube alternative, but the hosting is all being done off of other people's computers, like that create a big giant federation network. So we have
I had one video removed, and it was you can get a strike for it though, but it was the craziest, most anti everything, biggest conspiracy. It was the 5G thing when 5G was just starting, and it was 100%.
Man, I wouldn't even say that word. I would say 4H, because even that word might cause issues. Having me on your channel might cause you issues.
You know, but what I wasn't even my video. It was from Dollar Vigilante, and you know I love Jeff Burwick.
Oh, I remember this because they didn't do it to his video, but they did it to yours.
So he said, he's like, this is really important. You know, this is the worst thing. He said, you just download this video and you put it out on your own channel. Share it. I want you to get it everywhere. I don't care if it's demonetized. Just take it from me and put it out there. So I'm like, all right, fine. So I downloaded it. I made a little intros like, you know, this is from their channel. It's and I just wanted to get views. It was when my channel was really new. So I was like, okay, put it out there. Like within 2 days, dude. YouTube's like, this was so misinformation and terrible.
Was that the one with the big speech at the end?
Huh?
Was that the one with the big speech at the end?
I don't remember, but
they took it down.
They took it down. They said, no, this is crazy. This was like the beginning of the censorship thing, right? Probably pre Alex Jones or just after. But they took it down, so I just put it back up again. And then they didn't take it down, and they took mine down and they left his up. And I was like, dude, it's his video from this other channel, and that's still up. So I just put it up, and they didn't care. It was fine. That didn't come down. So I was reading the chat here, but I think that was the start of everything. And me and Rice, all of us, we've talked about it. Is when they took Alex Jones and they hit him, and a lot of people were just like, "Hey, man, it's not okay to take anyone down. It's not okay to silence anyone when it's a free and open forum. If they can come for that voice, then eventually they can come for you. And you may love the fact that he's gone because you hate the guy. But it doesn't matter, because if you silence any voice and you allow that to happen, then they can silence your voice. You can't give them that power." And they did. Everyone did. Everyone was fine with it. And now look at where we are.
So it was a German pastor named Martin Nollmeyer who where is it at? I'm trying to pull it up so I can read it very specifically, but I think this is a good version. Yeah. And this really relates to the title of your video. When I read the title of your video, this is what it reminded me of. And so this is from Martin Niemöller. I'm hoping I'm saying that right. Again, he's a pastor in Germany. And this is back in the late 30s, 1930s. First, they came for the communists, and I did not speak out because I was not a communist. And then they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came out for the trade. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak out for me.
Speak for me. Yeah.
That's what the title of your video made me think.
Yeah.
And that's really where we are today.
It is, man. Because there's eventually there'll be no other voices left except the ones
that are controlled.
That are controlled. Yeah.
The 1984 world.
Exactly.
Or They Live. Or Brave New World.
Yeah.
All these different predictions that have been put out to us, warnings.
And that's something when you really look at
Idiocracy. Idiocracy will come true. That will be like a historical movie because it will have predicted the evolution of.
I never got how people were so serious about Orwell. I'm like, yeah, it's interesting and there's something, but it was people are like really, really serious about it. And now I understand why. Because he was very serious. He was on his deathbed and doing interviews, and he's like, look, man, I'm because they were like, oh, lovely story. And he's like, I'm trying to warn people.
Yeah, I'm trying to
he has tuberculosis. Up. He's literally like on his deathbed. And he's like, look, this is really serious. It's a warning. I'm trying to warn people. I've seen stuff coming. I know it's coming. And everyone was like, well, it's a good story.
Well, that's why I tell people it's like we've traveled in the past. We traveled from 2020 several years ago back to 1984. And George Orwell's book came true.
Yeah, totally. And it's scary and it's sad when you look at the fear that people have and then the anger. You could see with the mask thing. I mean, well, you could, it really started with Trump and just the anger people had. My stepdad, I've never seen anything like it. He hates him so much. I don't think he's ever hated anyone. He hates him. I mean, he hates him with a passion. He came down for a visit like a couple of years ago, and he's a very quiet, reserved, guy. And like the boys would be interested in, introducing him to their friends. He'd be like, "Hi, how you doing? Ted Nelson's grandpa. It's nice to meet you. You don't like Trump, do you? He's a dumbass." I mean, I was like, "What?" Never have I ever, just my whole life growing up, not like that at all. He was in the military. He hated Clinton because he was, like a draft dodger and, cheated on his wife, all that. It was moral stuff, but he didn't talk about it. And to see him and the anger.
You bringing that up, though, that's like the last. It's like the last of that type of man in America. It's like that is dying out. People who care about morals and their convictions don't support people because it go against their morals or convictions. Like you saying, like, I don't want to support in the case of Clinton because of idolatry and how he's treated women and such and such, and I'm not going to be supportive of him. It's like I've noticed a decline over the years of morals and values. Because when I was growing up, like even in the late 80s, to have a man have an earring was very taboo.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now it's like you can go in and to a job interview with gauged out ears and tattoos, nose piercings, all sorts of things that have
tattoos are huge things, dude.
And then just the idea of how people who would have more conservative Christian type values and how people looked at homosexuality in the 80s and how much that has changed now with like the way that with gender identification. I mean, now it's like we can identify as animals as well, apparently.
I remember my kids were in high school and I was talking about how we had a smoking area in high school, and they're like, you had a smoke. I was like, yeah, we had a smoking area. And then they were saying that they had a gay area.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
I've got that here as well.
So like, you don't go in the gay area, they'll beat the fuck out of you, Dad. I was like, we had one guy in school that was gay. We had a lot of gay guys, but there was one guy. And all the male cheerleaders, well, not all, like 80% of the male cheerleaders ended up being gay. But this one guy was gay Bob. It was the only gay guy in school. Picked on all the time. It was, terrible. But there was one dude. And to hear they had a gay area. It's like, yeah, in the
Did
front
you
of the
have that
school,
kind of problem in Australia, Darko?
We've got it in our schools right now. We've got the gay rooms for the gay children, which they call the rainbow room.
I like rainbows.
But why how do children know who to fuck? They're children. They shouldn't be
Yeah, well,
fucking. So
yeah,
why
that's
promote
It
that?
depends.
totally-
Are their parents Catholic?
Me and Lisa talked about this. We and Lisa talked about
I
this.
know.
They're
I
talking
just
about.
I had to
they're-
make a
They're
joke out of
talking
this.
about elementary school, kindergarten, and talking about like, you know, gay and anything sexual. Like, that's not. They're not. There's no sexuality.
Public school is
They're not sexual.
indoctrination, and if you
But
care
here's the
about
thing,
your
dude.
kid,
I
you'll
made
be
this
taking your
point.
kids out of those institutions.
I made this
and you'll
point
be
to
educating
Lisa.
them yourself or
They've
finding somebody
actually
to educate them.
what they've done is they've taken the basic biological thing that kids have, cooties. They've turned cooties into gay. They're like, oh, this 7-year-old, he doesn't like girls, so he's gay. I'm like, no, he thinks they have fucking cooties, man. He's not gay because he doesn't know anything about sex or sexuality.
And the
or
thing is,
sexual
you don't even want
identification.
somebody that young, even in that direction of thinking.
No, it's such a yeah. So it should
Dude,
be
I didn't
brought
know
up.
what sex was until I was like 12 years old or some shit. And that's when I first heard of it.
Right.
Why,
Well,
why should
times
5,
have
6-year-old
changed,
kid?
Darko. I mean, you've seen it. That's what I'm saying. There's been a decline of our morals and
More about-
values.
Yeah, but why should today's 5, 6-year-olds know what sex is at school? What the fuck?
They shouldn't.
But
There's
why
no
why
reason
should
for it.
right, and why should it be allowed and encouraged for children who are under 12 years old to narc on their parents because their parents are telling them what they think they should do as their parents?
Especially if both parents are the same sex. Look, I don't care what people do. Everyone's entitled to their own decisions. They're responsible for their own actions. If I want to be gay, lesbian, LGBTQ plus LOL lol, fine. Everybody, whatever makes you happy. But don't fucking push this shit down innocent kids' throats that don't need to even know what sex is.
That's it, dude. You hit the word, the loss of innocence, the death of innocence. They wanted to kill that, and let kids be in a fucking sense.
I don't care if people want to go
not
down the street
know
and
about
inject heroin into their toes, their eyelids.
You can't be innocent in today's world unless you're sheltered.
There's a time and place for
Exactly,
everything. And
exactly.
let them
It
grow
makes it
up,
very
live
fucking
life, and learn
very,
the
very
natural
difficult,
way.
dude.
That's it. Don't fucking push it down their throats. They don't need to hear it. They
If I had a little,
studying
if I had a little
numbers
child,
and
dude,
letters.
I would probably be a lot more dangerous if I had a small child and that child was affected in any of the ways that we have just mentioned in the past few minutes. I would go ballistic.
Yeah. People do, but they get ignored and silenced. So now there's a little bit of
the
an
government better
happening
thank
as
God
well.
that my child is old enough to not add that kind of gas to the fire, because the fire is burning.
JDO said it right there, dude.
Yep, JDO nailed it.
That's why they need to raise the numbers, man.
Justin Trudeau couldn't even say all those combination of letters. I don't know if you saw a recent video.
I saw that one. Yeah.
Where somebody had to correct him because he was like, he started doing like a Muhammad Ali, and he was like 1, 2, 3 ABC. I know that.
Muhammad Ali, man.
The point is, right? My point is, we send children to school to learn about how to read, write, do mathematics, maybe a bit of history as well. You know, the generic stuff. Yeah, we don't need to send them to school so they can learn how one man can make love to another, or to know what a man can make love to another man. I got gay friends. I got straight friends. I got nothing against gays. I'm not homophobic. I'm just trying to talk common sense here. We pay these schools to educate children to use things later on in life. And I could be a prick and say this is just promotion of the distinction of humankind. If everybody just turned the same way, then in one generation, humankind wouldn't exist. But I'm not being a prick.
Darko, in the United States, there is a big movement for that now. There's a lot of states that are coming out and making, basically giving parents back their authority and making it illegal for school boards and schools. What's the word?
Administrative bodies. I don't know.
School districts, for the school districts to go against what the parents want. And there's hotlines where like they can report it and the state will say, hey, you're not allowed to do that.
Now, I
You know,
mean, I
this is
know
not
our
cool
tax
with
dollars,
parents.
our tax
We face
dollars are
jail time
supposed to
now
go
for
to
that.
these type institutions, but these institutions are designed. If you go and you study history and you study the education system being a free system that's supported by the government and our tax dollars, supposedly. So therefore, they have the authority to control and dictate what is being taught. And there you have the choice to take your child out of that free education that you may or may not be paying taxes for and ensure that their education is going a certain direction. Because if you're going to take advantage of public schooling, then basically what you're doing is you're sending your child to an indoctrination camp
Exactly.
and they're
And
being conditioned,
that's something I think
and you
that
need to accept
backfired
that.
with
So it's one or
that
the other.
backfired with
Darko, I
the
get what
COVID
you're
stuff.
saying though, because you would think education would teach people the basics of education, but our education system doesn't teach people how to deal with money or debt, how to deal with banking, any of these kind of things. They
I've
deal
discussed
with
all this before.
teaching
Yes, I
false
get.
history, false information, conditioning, and propaganda. It was
But like I said, there's a big movement in the United States now
a
to
Rockefeller
get it
that
back
took over
to
the
that,
education system.
to get it back to that base, to teach kids basic stuff like history, math.
Yeah, they've started that
reading,
here as
and
well.
so on.
So they've got laws at the moment in Australia where if you have a 8, 9 year old child and your child decides to one day come up to you and say, "Mum, Dad," so let's say it's a boy, "Mum, Dad, I've decided right now I'm now a girl," and if a parent of a child denies that child that decision and or denies that child a sex change upon request, we face jail time for it.
Well, that's what I was
Jail
saying
time.
earlier, Darko. That's where they're encouraging children. And I don't know if this like translates in Australian. I know we both speak English, but the word narc to tell on your parents. So
Yeah.
the schools are encouraging the children
Well,
to tell on their parents who should have the authority over their very own children
I
to
should.
tell on them
They
so their
have to.
parents can get in trouble
Well, like I said, I think that's being flipped here in the United States. But Darko, if that's
in
real,
certain areas
if that's
of the
real,
United
then that
States.
needs to. You need to move.
Well, something changed
worst
here
thing I've ever
recently. We're in February now, so school's back over the last couple of weeks. And a week before the kids went back to school, there was one school in North Australia, Catholic school, where they sent out a letter to all the parents of the children going to that school that were already enrolled and ready to start in the next week, saying, we have now banned children from talking about sex, gender, blah, 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 all that stuff.
Mhm.
If you don't agree, please find another school. If your child comes to school this week when we start and talks about them being an opposite sex, then your child will be expelled from this school because we're not accepting it. And that's the first school that's done that here. And it was all over the news, a lot of controversy about it.
Well,
But sex shouldn't be a topic for these little
Exactly.
innocent souls.
But also, parents have the last fucking word. If my kid said that, I'd be like, no. But when you're 18, you want to do that, that's fine. But until then, no.
Yeah,
You
but
know,
nowadays,
whatever
Sean,
you say,
if your
I
children
have the last word.
if your children are younger and you weren't living in Texas, your kids could essentially get you in trouble if you didn't let them have their way. That's the direction that we're headed.
No.
The other direction we're headed is if we're talking.
I've told my kids that. I've told my nieces and nephews that.
Yeah, and then you can threaten to beat them, and then you're going to get they're
No,
going to take
that's
the
the
kids
thing.
away from
They
you
say,
for abuse.
hey, I'll tell on you or I'll do this. And I'm like, okay, I'm still going to do it. And then you'll go to foster care. So it's your choice.
Yeah, and then you can go get raped by some foster parents.
I'm not going to say
one other thing,
that
right?
far with the kid. I tell them, I said, I'm not going to not do my job.
And
It's my job, dude. It's my job as your uncle. It's my job as your dad. Whatever. I'm not going to let you do that or get away with that. So if you think you want to try and do whatever, you have at it. Because I tell you what, I'll get out of jail if I go there, but you'll be in foster care.
Look, man, if schools are allowing children at age 5, 6, 7 to start talking about sex, the topic of sex, what's going to happen? We're going to have a lot more likelihood of people getting pregnant at 12, 13 years old, at an age where they cannot sustain a family. And then there's the other option. By constantly promoting this and putting this new information into these innocent children's heads, some will get tempted. They'll find the idea attractive. They'll look into it. They'll try it.
Or they'll think
whatever. I mean, not for children, it's not fine, but as they get older, they'll try it. Now, a lot of these people that get into this kind of scene also end up going through operations, various operations that have serious impacts on the human body.
Those are
Things like
illegal though in America.
not here, they're not. Not here, they're not. Now, what are the long-term implications of
Bro,
such
bro,
dramatic
bro, let me tell
changes
you
to
this.
the body? Hang on, let
In
me
the
finish.
United
Let
States,
me finish.
you
Wait,
can't
let me
get your
finish
tubes tied
before I
if you're an
forget.
adult.
Yeah, hang on, let me finish before I forget. Now, the long-term effects, and I've seen it on a lot of people that I personally have known, is severe mental illness to the point of suicide because they've got so many hormone changes, unnatural ones, from all these body modifications to become the opposite sex. Everything just becomes sick, not just mentally, but also physically, and they're deteriorating physically
Their
and
bodies
mentally.
aren't done yet. They're still being made.
Right. They're not even like they're still developing. You can't.
They're not done.
So it'd be like the idea of like people talking about changing an engine in a car that is currently going down the highway.
Yeah.
You need to let it develop before you make any sort of changes to it
Yeah.
at all. Because if you're making changes,
Like, hey
to
man,
it
I'm
as
put this
it's
new
developing,
carburetor on my engine while
right?
I'm
You're
driving.
distorting the development and what could take place.
Yeah, like Hoddle said, permanent damages, dude.
But here, if we say something and speak up against it to prevent what you just said from stuff fucking up, we go to jail for it. Like, seriously.
Well, I mean, that's why we have the Second Amendment to protect those things. And that's always our option. That's always an option. It's a terrible option, shouldn't but it's there. It's
Should be a
our
last
option.
resort. Should be a last resort because the idea of the
Everyone
Second
should know.
Amendment, which was militias, the idea of a militia is you should have a militia, but a militia should never be used.
Should never have to. Yeah,
it should never have to be used. Yeah, I'll correct myself.
And
all
that
I
would
know
be the
is the
idea.
world's gone insane, man. It's gone fucking insane.
it has, dude.
It's flipped upside down.
In the United States, if you're 24 years old and you've had 2 children, and you're a woman, and you're a man, and you're married, and you say, "Hey, I want to get my tubes tied. I don't want to have any more kids," they're not allowed to. The doctor has to be a special circumstance until you're 25. They want you until you're 25.
Wow.
It won't even do it. You have to have a special situation. Like I had 2 sets of twins by the time my wife was like 23. So she could get it done. But it was a special situation.
Look, it's the first time I'm hearing this, but maybe there might be an actual reason for it. Maybe up until the age of 25, on average, tubes can't be messed with in that way for safety reasons.
Oh no, they can. They just don't. You're too young to make the decision that it said.
Oh,
you might want more later on, so there's just a blanket rule.
I remember when I was about 30 years old, I went in for depression to see the
parental
doctor
rights.
Antidepressants, and they turned around and said to me, "We can't prescribe you antidepressants because you're too young to have antidepressants at 30 years old."
What's funny is though that dudes can get vasectomies whenever.
You mentioned Darko. So in Australia, I have heard of situations, and I don't know the specifics because this is all just kind of coming across through like the Ministry of Propaganda, the mainstream news. But,
the ministry.
Where they're taking several months ago, separating children from parents and putting one or the other in sort of like sports stadiums.
Bullshit.
So there was nothing like that taking place where they were like separating children from their parents.
Nope.
Or not in the area of Australia where you're at, because I know it's not.
I have heard the rumors from international people saying that they saw that, but not to my knowledge. The only time you would see children separated from parents is if there's severe drug abuse and physical violence from both parents, and the child has nowhere else to go.
Excuse me, but Hoddle says right with most all this stuff. The problem is the people that are controlling everything. And I don't know if y'all saw Klaus Schwab in his interview, or it was on stage, and he basically bragged that the leaders and cabinets of most countries, they always tell them that, most of the people in our cabinets are totally invested with you. He's basically saying we own all these governments.
Yeah.
And they don't hide it, and that's the thing.
Because who the hell is Klaus Schwab? He's not a politician. He's not a prime minister or a president. He's not a dictator of any sort of nation, anything like that. But yet, it seems like he and the World Economic Forum, because he seems to be kind of like the figurehead of the World Economic Forum, seem to be spearheading the direction of where governments are going. So you would definitely think the governments are in the pockets, and it comes down to a combination of the World Economic Forum, which is a private thing like the Bilderberg Group, and then you have like your institutions like the IMF. Because I mean, the IMF is stressing, they're flexing and stressing right now. You see what they're doing to El Salvador. You also see like the tension and turmoil taking place supposedly in Russia and Ukraine. So I mean, we're at a really, really crazy time. I mean, when you really start to think about everything that's going on, that's why when I tell people,
if you're talking about Bilderberg,
research
you're talking about Davos, it's obvious there's always the thing that just happened in fucking Antarctica. There are groups of people who are just elite and powerful people that are coming together that are not in the same group.
Look at
there
the Georgia
be a
Guidestones.
reason for these people to meet secretly in weird
the
places.
Georgia Guidestones spells out why these individuals are doing what they're doing.
But getting back to censorship and
I gotta wrap things up here on my end soon.
Yeah, I want to wrap it up. You really, I think it's the worst time ever. I think everyone is guilty of allowing it to happen. Ever since Alex Jones and on. I think that we need to have dissension. I think we need to have offense, and that was one of the biggest things when the whole "you're offensive and that's not cool" and "I'm offended and you have to use this pronoun or that." No, you need to be offended, man, and you need to be able to deal with it. If I'm not harming you or pushing my beliefs down your throat, I can talk about my beliefs. I can talk about whatever I want. And if it's offensive to you, I think it's great. That's why America was created, for offensive people to leave those other countries, come here and be offensive and be allowed to do what they want, worship the way they want. And as long as they're not harming or infringing on your rights to worship the way you want and be the way you want, then that's great. But you have to be able to be offended and get joy in the offense.
Well said.
Because if you should be offended, and you should say, "Man, I do not like what you say, but will stand up for the right for you to say it." It's a very simple thing, but it's so true.
Sean, the irony of what you're saying too, like somebody who I used to think stood for free speech, someone like Howard Stern, who recently has come out pro censorship.
My
like,
God.
how the hell is like the guy that I thought was pushing the envelope in the late 80s, early 90s, and was like a precursor to what happened to Alex Jones, is sitting here supporting what's happening and the loss of free speech of all people. It disgusts me, man.
He basically said, "I'm scared of these people. Fuck their freedom. I don't want to be scared."
Like he's a germaphobe.
Yeah, he's pussy. And he came out.
It's weak.
I'm mad at Oprah because she had a lot of people over for Christmas, and it's just terrible. And you put these people in jail, you kill them. I don't care.
It's weak,
dude.
When enough people take a stand, nothing can stand against the people, and we're getting to that point. But we don't have enough people.
And people are seeing. And what the thing is, man, 3%. That's the thing that Eric told me that we beat the biggest fucking empire in the world, and we created the best country in the fucking world.
We thought we beat the biggest empire. We thought we did. We beat him, dude.
We beat him. We created the best country in the world.
But the banks took us over
with the best foundation, and we did it with 3%, and then maybe 20% of the actual population. You don't need that many people, man. And we need to bring it back to the way it was: freedom, respect, and community. That's it. That's it.
I just remembered something. At our schools as well, now they've got this rule: you're not allowed to gender stereotype. So you're not allowed to call someone a boy or a girl anymore as a kid.
Now the boys and girls must be mad about that.
Am I safe to call you a man, Darko?
How dare you?
What about you, Sean? Do you identify as a man? A male?
I am a meat popsicle. You got that? You got that, Cryptozorg. All right.
Good way to end the show.
Yeah. Well, I love you guys. It was great hanging out with everybody. Make sure you leave comments so you're registered to win some crypto. Everybody, fight the good fight. Fight
Sure.
censorship. Love your fellow
And
man.
just
I'll see
quickly,
y'all later.
just quickly, shout outs.